When I was in 5th grade, I wanted a dog. I wanted a big dog, but my parents would only allow me a Chihuahua. After looking at several puppies, I chose one which was the most affectionate and had crawled into my lap. My mother and I then went directly to the vet to have the Chihuahua checked out. The vet found a number of things wrong with the dog. Overall, she had a very poorly developed structure. She was a runt. She also had a soft spot on the top of her head because her skull had not grown completely together. She had a hernia in the middle of her stomach, and her bottom jaw was receding so severely that eventually she would be unable to chew. I cried that night, worried I had made the wrong choice. About a year later, my mother saw in the papers that a Chihuahua club met once a week, and she suggested that I join. That Friday night, she drove me downtown and dropped me off at the meeting place. Inside, there were about 15 men and women, ranging in age from about 40 to 65. There weren't any Chihuahuas, but everyone had bingo cards. They asked me what my Chihuahua's name was, and we began to play bingo. Sometime during the second game, a woman was walking behind me with a cup of very hot coffee, and she spilled it all over my shoulder. I was wearing a cotton shirt, and it glued to my skin. Not knowing what exactly had happened, I grabbed my shoulder as a couple of the men walked me to the back room. As soon as they took my shirt part way off, it was apparent that the burn was quite severe, and they began discussing what the best way to treat it would be. Finally, they settled on taking some beer cans out of the refrigerator and rolling them all over my shoulder until my parents came and took me home. The woman who spilled the coffee felt very badly about it, and she offered her champion Chihuahua stud service. So, in a couple of weeks, I took my dog over to her house, and we bred them. The vet thought she was going to have a litter of about 4 or 5. In fact, she had 2 puppies. One was very small, and the other so large that it required cesarean section. She refused to nurse either of them, and although I tried putting them in the oven with a milk bottle, they both died in 2 days. Several years later, my parents were in a fight, and in the confusion, the dog got out of the yard. As my father was backing out of the driveway in his car, he ran over the dog. She wasn't killed, but after that, her right front leg dangled uselessly from her torso. By then, her bottom jaw had receded back so far that all her teeth had rotted and had to be removed. Still, she seemed a very happy dog. After I was no longer living at home, my sister's boyfriend was taking the garbage cans out, and one of them rolled over the dog and killed her. He buried her in the backyard, next to another puppy we once had, that had died when my sister opened our overflowing cupboards, and a can of dog food fell on its head.